IGCSE Computer Science Syllabus Statement 1.2.3a show understanding of the role of a browser and internet server. So, this is the topic Internet Principles of Operation, and this basically talks about the internet and a bit of how it works. But again, you'll learn more about the internet in the security topic, where we actually look at how security and the internet work together. But this is just to help you get a basic understanding of how the internet works. So, starting with the browser and internet server. So, a web browser is software which can display a web page on a user's computer screen. Now, like, web browsers include stuff like Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and Internet Explorer. They translate HTML code from websites and display the result of the translation in the form of text, images, videos, or sound. So, like, text is what we usually see in a normal website, images as well, videos like on YouTube, or sound. And most web browsers have these features. So a home page, the ability to store websites or web pages, basically sort of like bookmarks, a history of web pages visited. I don't want to know what your history has. And the ability to go backwards and forwards through websites. So, like, there's a back button, a forward button, like after you click like a link or a button, for example, and it takes you to another web page, you can click the back button to go back to the previous web page, and forward to go, well, forward. So then there's the internet server. So a server is software which responds to requests from other software. So they're called clients. And a web browser will send a request to an internet server through a proxy server. The internet server will then send a response back to the web browser, again through the proxy server. So to get an idea of how this works, we have our web browser here. So, like, this is on the user's computer. The request is sent to the proxy server, and then the request is forwarded by the proxy server to the internet server. After the internet server gets it, it sends a response to the proxy server, and the proxy server forwards that response to the web browser, and it's filtered. And we'll actually learn more about the proxy server in the security topic, but this is just so you can get a basic idea of how it works. IGCSE Computer Science Syllabus Statement 1.2.3b show understanding of what is meant by HyperText Transfer Protocol, both HTTP and HTTPS. So this statement actually also has HTML, but we already covered that in uses of hexadecimal. I covered everything about HTML without knowing that what I should have done was had the information of HTML here, and but not, well, anyway, what's done is done. So if you want to know about HTML, I'll have a link in the corner if I remember to put it there. If you don't, just mention it in the comments and I'll get to it. So, yeah, let's get started. So HTTP is a set of rules which must be followed in transferring data across the internet. And when a type of security is used, so like such as SSL, or encryption of some sort, then this becomes HTTPS, where S refers to secure. So HyperText Transfer Protocol Secure. But using HTTPS is slower than using HTTP. And HTTPS is usually used in the transfer of private data across the internet. So credit card numbers on a banking website, for example. So, like, if you have a banking website, if you have an account, you might notice an HTTPS in the corner of your browser. And, well, that's why. But I noticed that most sites nowadays have HTTPS. Or do they? I don't really know, but every time I go on any site, it always says HTTPS, which is probably why my internet's so slow. But anyway, that's pretty much it. IGCSE Computer Science This is syllabus statement 1.2.3c. Distinguish between HTML structure and presentation. So why does the title say structure, presentation, and behavior? Well, behavior also falls into this category, but the syllabus doesn't mention it. But it's still good to know what it is, because I mean, like, it's you know, it's an essential to all of this. Like, it's sort of like I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but like, imagine learning 3 things which make sense together, but like only 2 of them that you actually... Alright, never mind. So, we'll first start with structure. So, structure is basically the HTML file itself. And remember that we're talking about web pages here. So, HTML is sort of the main file in any web page. The next is presentation, so CSS files, which is basically like the, well, like sort of how it's presented, basically. And then there's behavior, which is JavaScript, a JavaScript file, which is the logic, so like how it works. So again, the structure of the document, so basically what content it has. So like headings, paragraphs, like we all see in most websites. We see a title, the heading, and some text, paragraphs. And presentation is basically how it looks, as mentioned. Well, as said, it's style of the document, so like stuff like font and color. And then there's behavior, which is the logic of the document. It's how it works. So like stuff like widgets, interaction with the user, like alerts and stuff like that, buttons. So it works kind of like that. So this is pretty much it, but I didn't want this video to be too boring, so I added a few more things. So we can check out how HTML, which is the structure, and we can basically check out how the 3 of them link. So we get the structure, which is the HTML file. Then we get the CSS, which is the presentation. Then we get the JavaScript, which is the behavior. So just a note that it's important to make sure that these 3 are in separate files, because sometimes you can have like CSS and JavaScript code in the HTML file, but it's good practice if you keep them separate, because it just makes it more organized. And in the next part, I'll show you how, well, an example of using these 3 to make a web page. So, remember Scott's page that we had in the hexadecimal topic, the uses of hexadecimal topic? Well, I'm bringing it back, but I added 2 lines here. This gets the CSS file, and this gets the JavaScript file. And with that, I could also get rid of quite a lot of stuff down here, such as the size of text, the color of text. Now you'll notice that BG color is there. It's honestly, it's because I forgot to remove that. But basically, we don't really need that. And it's actually ignored, because the CSS file sort of overrides whatever's here. Or does it? I haven't actually tested that. Anyway, here's our CSS file. So the background color will override the background color here. So this is FF00FF, if you can't read that. And that's basically magenta, or however you pronounce it. So that light, like that really bright pinky thingy. And then H3 is the header. And the color of the header is Alice blue. And of course the alignment and size is also there. And then this is the JavaScript file, which this is actually one that will display today's date. Well, the day, basically. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple code here. And this comment up here, well, it's so that I don't get any warnings when I try to open this, because it says something like alert wasn't like declared or whatever. So I had to add that comment there to get rid of that message. So we'll see how this actually looks. So first, when you open it, an alert comes up saying today is Monday. Well, today is Monday, actually. And then when you click OK, click, the web page loads. So we get Scott's page. So the magenta background, the Alice blue title here, the header, and we get a picture of Scott. Now, before you say anything, I've had Scott's kind permission to he let me use this in the video. He's a good friend of mine. He's a really nice guy, and yeah, you should get to know him if you well, yeah. Alright, so, yeah, he looks pretty cool with his sunglasses. So that's pretty much it. That's how you can use structure, presentation, as well as behavior to control, well, like to present websites, or, no, what's the word I'm looking for? To make websites, yeah, that's it, make websites. You can use both HTML, JavaScript, and CSS to make it look cool. And in fact, in Java programming, if you've used JavaFX, you can use CSS to style some of your stuff. And yeah, it's quite cool. IGCSE Computer Science, Syllabus Statement 1.2.3d, show understanding of the concepts of Internet Protocol Address, Uniform Resource Locator, and cookies. So, in the statement, MAC address was also listed. However, I've already covered all of that in that hexadecimal video that I talked about, which also has HTML. I think I said that in 1.2.3b, I believe. So I'll have a link to that, as I did with that other video, and yeah, you can check it out if you want to. And in fact, you probably should check it out if you haven't, because we're going to be talking a little bit about MAC address here, so like the difference between IP and MAC. So let's get started. Internet Protocol. So an IP address is a 32-bit number which is given to each device on the internet. So it's usually written in the form nnn.nnn.n.nn, although they can have different forms. Because like if you look at your IP address of your computer, it should have this form. Well, at least mine does, but they can differ. A device is assigned an IP address by an ISP when it connects to the internet, and it's unique for only that internet session. So what an ISP is a company which provides a user with access to the internet, basically, and then charges them a monthly fee. What they do is they create a user account, which contains a username and password, usually, which, of course, like Wi-Fi password, that is, so people can get access. Yeah. A MAC address is a unique number which identifies a device on the internet, but an IP address gives a location of the device connected to the internet. So that's the main well, actually, yeah, that is the difference between a MAC and an IP address. Another way of thinking about it is just imagine the house or apartment that you live in. So the address of your house would be the IP address, and each person living in your house would be a MAC address. Now, if you are living with a family and you decide to move to another house, that IP address will change. However, the members of your family will go with you, hopefully, and so therefore their MAC addresses don't change. So it works kind of like that. So then we get Uniform Resource Locator. So a URL is an address to a resource on the internet. So users can type this in or click on a link, like Google, to go to a web page. So, for example, this is a URL. This is, well, I'm not going to tell you what video this is from YouTube. You're just going to have to find that out yourself. The web server will break up a URL into 3 parts. So there's the protocol, so like HTTP, HTTPS, the web server name, and the file name. So the web browser will translate the web server name into an IP address. And also, when you type in a URL, hit enter, the HTML code which exists in the location is returned, and then it's displayed as a page on your device's screen. That's pretty much what happens. Okay, so cookies. A cookie is a packet of data sent by a web server to a web browser, and they're generated every time a user visits a website. Every time a user visits a website, cookies will collect some information about the user. So you might see a message if you access a site saying cookies will be used, or like this site will like require use of cookies or whatever. So that's pretty much what cookies do. So they can track users, creepy, and save their preferences. So like, if you ever go to Amazon, for example, and you view an item, the next day, if you go back to Amazon, the home page, it may have said something like, customers who have viewed this item also viewed something like whatever lists. So that's pretty much how cookies work. But keep in mind that cookies aren't programs. They're basically data, so they can't perform any functions. They only detect web pages visited by a user on websites and store preferences. So just keep that in mind. So cookies aren't a virus or anything. Like it's not that dangerous. It's not dangerous whatsoever. Where is it? The information which cookies gather forms an anonymous user profile. So they don't gather personal information. So like they don't gather passwords or credit card numbers. But they are subject to privacy and security concerns. So you better watch yourself. So that's pretty much it for the entire Internet Principles of Operations topic. And yeah, that's it.